Thursday, July 23rd, and we're about to have the third of our Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday webinar series that we just came up with really suddenly at the last minute. So I hope you guys are enjoying the time out here. Robert's been in there answering things in the chat column, and if you've been here before, you know he is typing as fast as he can, answering as many questions as he can. So as we go through this, know that I can't see the chat. I'm sharing my screen. I'm juggling a whole bunch of, I'm spinning plates and stuff over here, and Robert's in a different room. So if I'm going through something and you put in the chat, hey, Kim, do that again. What are you doing? I'm never going to know. Sorry. I guess it's something that you'll get to go back and watch again. I'm recording, like, as I said, I hope I have your permission. If I don't, bye, because we have to record this. It's been highly demanded. I noticed earlier when I was playing around with things, I wanted to make sure that you guys all know how to change your view. If you're not experienced using Google Meet, and these are just the first couple of times you've been in a Google Meet, I'm going to share my screen briefly so I can show you a few of the features at the bottom of the screen, just for the purposes of this meeting. So let me go ahead and present my screen. This one with all the pretty faces on it. And there you are, almost. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to, can you see? Yeah. I'm not sure you can see. I'm looking at this as a guest, and it's not really doing anything. All right. I guess I don't need to share my screen. I'm just going to tell you about it. If you want to change your view, right now I see 1, 2, 3, 4 times 4. I see 16 faces. If you want to see the largest possible presentation of what I'm sharing to you later, hover your mouse down so that you see the white ribbon at the bottom. You see the mute button, which you successfully checked off. You see the turn off camera in case, like, you guys are, eating a steak or something while we're doing this. You don't want us to see that. But more importantly, look to the far right, and there's these 3 dots. Those are called ellipses, of course. If I tap on those 3 dots, and you may do that now while we're going through this, if you tap on the 3 dots, you can see that I'm recording. What I wanted to draw attention to is change layout. If you normally will automatically be provided the one that works best for whatever is happening. But if you want to play around with those at some point because the view is wonky, I just want to draw your attention to that area. So we are recording. I'm not in the chat. Talked about that. Thank you for Tuesday and Wednesday. They were awesome. And both of the webinars were recorded, and they are both curated and ready to view by you guys. I'm going to show you where they are just to make sure you know. First, I should share my screen so you can see what I'm doing. And there we go. This is our Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday Google Classroom that you are all familiar with, I know now. If I go into classwork and scroll down to recorded webinars, you can now see that there are 2 of them, and after today there will be 3. Usually I get to this at the very end of my night before I go to bed because it takes a long time for these hour-long recordings to render on the back end. Something else added really quickly for those that have not been in here, or for those who have, I added the information about Kami that I promised, a message that I recommend you use for your first Kami assignment. And if you want to share this with a typo, if you want to share this video with your kids, it will walk them through how to log in if you've provided them with a Kami assignment. It might be overkill. Watch it and you decide, but I wanted you to know where it was. And then the other thing I added today was the sample assignment, which many of you found, and I'm super pleased to see that we have some analytics in a Google form that you're going to really enjoy watching. So yay. One other place is, let's see if I can bring this over. Yes, this is our classroom. I'm sorry, our new website. We've done this one and this one. Now today is Google Forms and Google Classroom quiz. Here's a webinar storage area. So again, Kami is right here. So there you are. I'm going to go ahead and minimize that. And let's get started. I'm super excited to show you this tool that is part of the G Suite or Google Suite of apps. Google Forms is the application. Like we have Google Docs and Google Slides. Google Forms is the name of the application we will use today. And you can find it in a couple of different places. I'm not going to show you all the different ways you can get to it. What we're going to do is visit my drive. So you don't have to do this, obviously. I am in here on my ClassLink page, which I love so much. And if I tap on Google Drive, it's going to take me to my district Google Drive, which I already had open. And if I'm going to use Google Forms, just using Google Forms, not necessarily through the Google Classroom, we'll get to that eventually. But if I'm just going to use Google Forms, I can find it by tapping on New, More, and there's Google Forms. But before we get to that, I'd like to kind of sell you on some of the reasons why somebody might want to use Google Forms. First of all, let me get out of here. We'll go here. First of all, Google Forms is super flexible. You can create anything you want. It's great for digital assessments, formative assessments, or you can, with right and wrong answers, which again makes it an assessment or a quiz of some sort. And it's also useful to bring in data or take a survey. So I'm going to show you today, the sample that you guys took today. We're going to look at the answers and analytics and kind of talk about that as we go through it. And then I'm going to have another sample for you in a little while that is a parent survey where you can just glean information. I mentioned really quickly the analytics. Analytics are really pretty and easy to reference and can be manipulated if you're the kind of person who wants to perhaps download into a spreadsheet program. And in Google, that spreadsheet program is called Sheets. The self-grading part of it is awesome. If you are going to be making quizzes for your kids, then if something is multiple choice, then it is gradable. If something is short answer, it's also gradable. And we'll talk about the pros and cons of having something self-correcting and what some of the little tips and tricks are in there for self-correcting. And of course, because this is Google Forms is part of the G Suite and also part of your Google Classroom, this quiz can be found anywhere. Quiz or survey can be shared in many ways and can be found or used or taken on a phone or a computer or a tablet or anything. Just like ClassLink and Google Classroom allow us to access everything with any kind of device, so does Google Forms. There's no exception there. I was trying to look for negatives because I thought, in all fairness, we should have all the positives and negatives, and we're talking about a product, and there really aren't negatives. It is best, the self-grading element is best for multiple choice. I wouldn't use a self-grading for the short answer, but that's up to you. You might not mind that, and that's really there's no negatives, guys. It's a really cool product. So let's go ahead and dive in and look at a sample first and kind of walk through the sample. Then we'll walk through the second sample. Then we will build one, keeping in mind some of the things we didn't have here. We'll talk about the different settings you'll want to check. And then we'll finally take one through Google Classroom. All right. This quiz people took earlier. I know you remember. If you didn't take it earlier, go ahead and take it afterwards. You guys don't need to take it right now. And all we're doing right now is viewing it. If I want to look at the responses for this, look at that. 40 people have taken it. 193 still have it assigned. That's how many people we have in our Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday Google Classroom right now. But let's say I want to look at my what kids have been doing, what their analytics look like. I think I can do it here. No, sorry about that, gang. That is the one thing I did not do. I'm not going to import grades yet because I want to see everybody's work before, and I don't know if I need to make any adjustments, but I just want to see everybody's work before I go in. So I'm going to go through my Google Drive, and in my Google Drive, I'm just going to go ahead and find that form. Search forms. Now I think there's a second way to do this, but right now I don't want to get into that because I don't want us to go wonky. All right, there we go. So I found the form right there because I built it in Google Forms and I shared it to my Google Classroom so you guys could have access. We'll get to that in a little bit. Right now I just want to show you that this was page 1, that was page 2. Let's look at those responses. Okay, how did everybody do? Again, I like the Bright Analytics right now. I'm in the summary page, and it is showing me how people did on the average point-wise. There were 6 points available. No, but I remember I told everyone that if you got some answers wrong, that would be really helpful and give us more interesting analytics. So no fair if you see that, you know, your friend Shirley got 2 out of 6. You don't get to tease her later. She was probably doing me a favor. As I scroll down, frequently missed questions. What was the most frequently missed question? Choose the top 2 industries in California. I thought that would be more difficult. Nobody got that entirely correct. And you did have to get both of them in order to get those 2 points. And we'll talk more about that later. Second, what is a California state animal? Only 9 out of 43 people got that correct. And I can tell you why. That was a short answer, and so perhaps the analytics were not what we hoped them to be in the short answer. And then the California state song. Well, yeah, that's just because it's an obscure piece of knowledge. Here's all our scores, and I can scroll through that really quickly, but I'm not going to because you guys don't want to see that. But if I were a teacher, that might be a cool place to check on certain kids really quickly. We're going to be able to import the scores though into our Google Classroom. So I'm not as concerned about this particular one. I might be more concerned about the information on the right. If I issue a quiz to be taken by a certain time and certain kids are going to be last minute, certain kids are ones that are Johnny on the spot. As I scroll down a little bit more, I get a summary of each question. It looks like most people knew that Sacramento is our state capital, and I love a good bar graph. So there's our good bar graph with percentages as well. That tells me what I need to teach and what I maybe don't need to readdress. If I want to see who missed it, I can do that. I'll show you that in a minute. Choose the top 2 industries for California. Again, lots of people chose agriculture, and agriculture was definitely one of the 2. But then it looks like our second one was entertainment. However, that wasn't the second place. I know. You may have seen when you got your scores where the answer came from. It came from World Atlas. I was able to load up feedback for right and wrong answers. And so you probably know now that services is what they call the second greatest industry in California. So we could teach about that. Maybe I didn't address that in class at all. Again, we're just doing a quick overview, but agriculture people knew. I would address this, something I maybe didn't teach as well as I thought I had. California state animal now was scored, auto-scored. I gave it feedback. I gave it response feedback like I did with the other ones, but we can see now that some of the answers aren't consistent. We've got grizzly right here. Grizzly is not one of those potential answers I included in the answer feedback area, so grizzly wasn't counted as right. However, as a teacher, I'd like to actually consider grizzly right, unless I happen to put down that accuracy and complete answers were important. Smokey the Bear is a clever answer. I like it, but it wasn't one of the answer feedbacks I put in there. Just plain old bear with a lowercase b got a bunch of answers, but it wasn't quite as accurate as I'd like. So you see here, and I know you saw the answer feedback, how important it is to put every possible answer unless you want to spend some time going into each question and correcting that, which I'll show you how to do in a minute. That's California state bird, just more analytics, how many people got it right, how many people got it wrong, what the percentages are. What's California state song? I thought we did that one. I love you, California. Many people knew that. Again, just analytics. And then down here in you live in California, this is free response. I left enough space to write a full paragraph there. The difference between short answer and paragraph is, short answer, I'm going to look up the characters, so I want to say it's like 200 characters. And then free response is pretty much unlimited. And a lot of people answered that. Look at that. Well, that's sweet. Golden Gate Bridge, which I think is great because it made such a, yes, progressive changing opportunities, to change our demographics. A music note. I'm going to read these later, kids. That is awesome. Very, very good. Okay, so we just went through the overview for each question and a summary overall, but there's other ways to look at this. I'm going to go into question. Again, super powerful analytics. When I go into question, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 questions, and I've got them listed here. If I'm most concerned about that state animal question, I can go directly to the state animal without having to scroll down. Here's the answer key I left for it. These, with uppercase G and B and lowercase g and b and adding California in front of it, those were all correct, and some people got that. However, some people did not. I said specificity and spelling count. Let's see here as I scroll through. I'm going to go ahead and give. See how these are lowercase? That was good. Got 1 point, got 1 point. This one, grizzly bear question mark, messed it up. So see, this is a person's answer, or one person's answer. They got 0 points. If I think grizzly bear question mark is okay, I'm going to go ahead and change a score for that student. Don't know who it is. That's okay. Grizzly bear, lowercase g, but uppercase B. Again, the words are right. The spelling's a little wonky, but I'm not that tough. Grizzly, we agreed. I can go ahead and include that one. Brown bear, it's just wrong, guys. We're going to keep going. Golden bear, what a great name, but that's not the answer. Not brown bear, not brown bear. Black bear, brown bear, bear. Nope. Smokey the bear, I'd love to give credit for. I should give 2 points to that one, but I'm not going to. Turtle, thank you. Quail, monkey. All right, so we were able to adjust scores on that one. I feel a little bit better about my students, and I could do that. I could run through all of them and issue points. You live in California. What's a good symbol? I don't want to leave the page, but there we go. I'm in a new page, and there were no points assigned to that. Can I give extra credit? Yes. Oh, thank you, by the way. All right, I'm going to scroll back up to the top, and let's say there are certain students I'm concerned about. Right here, they're just called by your email, and because your students are joining this through their Google Classroom, just like you did, you will see their name just like you normally do, but you'll see their username. Remember that students' usernames are usually first initial, last name, but you'll recognize who they are. So if I am concerned about who should I be concerned about? I can't pick on somebody. That'd be terrible. I could pick on Shar, though, right? No, I won't. I can go through however that individual student is and check their particular answers. Anybody who has a 504 or something, I might judge them slightly differently. All right, so those are the main analytics. Something else though, I cannot leave a page without tapping on ellipses or other little buttons, and I'd be remiss if we didn't do that together. So right now, this little icon right here, let me explain. I'm not gonna do this right now. I'm gonna do this in a different Google form, but this allows you to download everything into Google Sheets. So it'll create a giant spreadsheet with all of the information in here. And some people really love the nuts and bolts and ability to manipulate information in a spreadsheet. Again, I'll demo that in the next one I show you. Ellipses right here. Get email notifications for new responses. Well, they're taking it through Google Classroom, so I'll be okay with that. Select response destination. I don't know what that means, but I'll get back to you. If I need to download the responses, this again might be really cool for my parent survey to download them in a CSV file, which allows me then to send it into other programs. If you're not familiar with CSVs, don't worry about it. If you've heard of a CSV and you think that's something interesting, now you know where it is. You saw print all responses. That's a lot of paper. If you're going to print, if you really do want to print, I would take them into the spreadsheet program and print the spreadsheet. It's a lot more efficient. And then delete all responses. You should know that's there. At some point, you might be reusing something, and this might come in handy. Not immediately, but later. All right. If I want to close this right now because we said it's due at 1:20, it's not. Let's do at 1:20 and I'm going to lock down responses. I can do that. I'm not going to right now, but just letting you know that that's something you can do. And that's about it. So that is super interesting and beautiful. Just a quick overview. I want to now go to a different one, which is a survey, and see if I'm trying to remember where I put it, guys. La, 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 la. Robert's still in there answering questions. Remember, I'm not there. I see I sent an email to myself. Let's see if I can find that. Google Classroom. Here it is. All right. So this is a sample. I made it in a different account. I made it in a personal account. Sharing quizzes, which is sharing quizzes is possible between accounts, but the easiest way to share a quiz is to simply be a co-teacher in that other teacher's account rather than the kind of manipulation I had to do to gain access to this in my district account. It would be much easier, since you're working with colleagues that may be creating cool ones, to be a co-teacher in their account and reuse the quiz. I'll show you how to do that towards the end. This is a survey, so there are no right or wrong answers. And as I scroll through this, I'll give you a quick tour. This is just a back to school thing. I needed their student's name because when I share this with parents, I will not automatically know their name. I will not automatically know their student's name. I will be sharing a link to this, not in Google Classroom, of course, because it's not a quiz. I'll be sharing this with parents who don't go into Google Classroom. So we'll probably share a link to this in Aries Communications, perhaps. I'll get up here in just a second and show you how to do that. As we scroll through, I will need their student's name, though. I'm looking for information about mom, and I put this on a different page. So once this question is answered, like you saw the next button, this is the next page about the female guardian, male guardian. And then in the fourth page is about different kinds of support I'm seeking. Again, you might have noticed that some of your questions on your quiz that you took had circles here, and these are boxes. Boxes allow you to check off more than one. They're called check boxes. Multiple answers, and the circles are just regular old multiple choice, where just one answer. So this is not got correct answers anyway. I just coded it as check boxes so they could check more than one. Let's see, scrolling down, fifth page, general survey about different topics and a thank you. So this literally had 6 pages. Those pages prevent somebody from looking at a quiz and going, or a survey, and saying, oh my gosh, there's like 20 questions. So also people who have students who might be very uncomfortable with the idea of 20 questions ahead of them might want to use the concept of sections. Again, when we build one, I will show you how to do that. And if I don't, we'll have Robert pound on the wall to remind me, because that's important. I'm going to look at the responses. And again, more quickly this time, there is a summary. Students' names, mother. Most of these things were free response, and there was very little multiple choice, but here we go. Support. Lots of moms want to help out. Lots of moms want to do that. So I've got responses. I can see what I have interest in, who's got interest. They are able to have, I needed wet wipes and paper towels. This is obviously before COVID. So paper towels were somehow above wet wipes. We know that would look different this year, don't we? But I've got plenty of things coming in, but maybe I'm over here saying I don't have enough sparkles or glitter, so I'm going to have to reach out and get somebody to respond, somebody else to honor that. And again, I didn't mute my phone. And again, we have pie charts, all kinds of things. All right, I'm not going to spend too much time. Let's go to well, that was unexpected, guys. Hang on. told her. All right, so am I still sharing? Yes, I am. All right, so responses, questions. If I want a specific question answered, like is there somebody that's going to click box tops right here and I want specific answers, I can go through and find those particular answers. All the people that said yes are right here. All the people that said maybe are right here. All the people that said no are right here. Again, those analytics are really cool, but when you put them in a spreadsheet, I actually prefer this kind of survey data to be in a spreadsheet. Let's see what happens if I can. I need access. Of course I do. Let's go back to California symbols and do that one then. Create a new spreadsheet. Yes, please. And as it's making that spreadsheet, it'll, oh, there it goes. That was pretty quick. Typically, I would not do this for all these answers here. I would have used it for the teacher survey for parent information, but we don't want you guys spending too many minutes with me popping back and forth between accounts. So a spreadsheet can be manipulated. So if I don't need to see, for example, this information, I can just cut it. I don't need it, or I can actually just hide column. There we go. I need their scores. I need their, I'm not so interested in a couple of the columns, but just an FYI that you can download these into a spreadsheet. I'm going to go ahead and close that spreadsheet and make sure that I touched on the things during the tour that I wanted to. Okay. So we talked a little bit a few minutes ago. I said I would show you the different ways to share these. I'm in Google Forms right now. I'm not in Google Classroom. Again, just in Google Forms. Google Classroom will share automatically as an assignment. But if I'm using Google Forms to collect parent data or collect data from community members or whoever, I'm going to want to make sure I've checked all my options up here. This first one with a palette, you know what that is. Palettes can make things pretty. I can change the colors or the backgrounds or whatnot. I can even change the fonts, and you guys can check through those things later. The preview, the eyeball is a preview, shows me what it looks like without my having to actually take it. And when I was building it, would pop into the preview occasionally and decide whether or not that's what I wanted it to look like. But this one right here, guys, you know that's one of my favorite things to tap. That is the settings gear. The gear always means settings. This one is a survey. I did not need to collect email addresses from the parents there. I wanted to collect them in the spreadsheet because they were answering for mom and dad and maybe others. So I want to just go ahead and get them from the form itself. Limit to one response. It was not unnecessary here. Edit after submit. Yeah, I didn't see any problem with that. Presentation. You guys know what a progress bar is. If there were 20 questions, they're on number 1, number 2, and it would show the progress across a horizontal line at the top. That can be used in a quiz as well, of course, showing a progress bar. Shuffle question order. And this survey, I did not do that, but I could shuffle question order in a survey or in a quiz. It might be effective to limit student sharing of answers. I know you're concerned about security, so we will talk about that. And this showed a link to submit another response. That was something I wanted the parents to be able to do because I want to get as much from them as I can. But right here, if I made this into a quiz, some of the options and things in here would look different. So let's go to this one. It's going to collect the email addresses because it's a quiz, and I am collecting this through Google Classroom. My students got a little response receipt saying you have turned in your quiz. You did, if you wanted it. It was restricted to Chino Valley Unified by nature of being taken through Google Classroom. It's a quiz, so we limit it to one response. These are default with Google Classroom quizzes. Also, not checked, edit after submitting. That would be silly to allow that. And seeing summary charts I didn't think was necessary. Presentation. I did not choose a progress bar for you guys, but could have. I did not shuffle the question order among you guys, but I could have. And this is the message you got at the end. But over here where it says quizzes, I want to look at these a little more carefully. it automatically was a quiz based on how I initiated this. But sometimes we forget when we're building in Google Forms and perhaps don't make it into a quiz initially. So we can always toggle that on in the middle of it. You don't have to delete or shelve the whole thing. You can just make it a quiz, and then it opens up all of the options. This is super interesting. Locked mode on Chromebooks. We cannot, you will not be using this. It would be for a district that is, or at least a school or classroom that is one-to-one, and all your kids are using district issued devices. I promise you that if you play with it, all you're going to do is make the quiz itself unavailable to anybody who's not on a district Chromebook. So this you're not going to turn on. You're also provided with a little option to turn this on in Google Classroom, and you're not going to turn it on. I'll let you guys see your grades right away. I'm sure we could, if we were all in a room together, I would stop and say, let's have a conversation about the benefits and drawbacks to having a score right away or later. But I'll talk to myself. We have 26 minutes, so we're doing really well. Immediately after each submission is what you guys saw. So you saw immediately, Cindy saw it, she got 2 out of 6. And it's like, oh no, my gosh, it's terrible. I need to return to 4th grade. And then not knowing that I'm gonna go back in and check it out. Maybe she just put grizzly bear question mark, and I gave her credit for that, right? So maybe that's an argument for later after manual review. I am manual review. Also remember that in addition to that short answer faux pas, or not really a faux pas, but correction I made. I've got students that just maybe don't do that well and need to be talked to ahead of time before seeing their actual score. And of course, if you have free response, that's a paragraph, you'll definitely want to make sure it's later after a manual review. Unless here you want to make sure there are no broken hearts by typing something that says basically, you may see your score immediately, but don't freak out because I'm going to be scoring your free response, and your real score will arrive by Tuesday or whatnot. I mean, there is definitely an argument to be made for having as much immediate feedback as possible, but you have the power to do these things. Remember, it's under the gear, and it's up to you whether you're doing it through Google Forms or directly out of Google Classroom. It doesn't matter. It looks exactly the same, and your power is the same. So think about that. You guys saw your missed questions, correct answers, and point values. That's why I wanted you to take the quiz. So those of you who haven't taken the quiz, I'm going to leave it open, of course. You saw me leave it open. But missed questions means that you see what your answer was and that it wasn't right. You see what the correct answer was, and that is noted, and then how much it was worth and how many you got. So that is all something that we saw. Okay, I didn't make any changes, so I can just click cancel. But that power to make it look pretty, to preview it, and check your settings are right there. Again, I'm in Google Forms. I'm not in Google Classroom right now. So when I want to share it with somebody not in Google Classroom, if I want to share it outside Google Classroom, I'm going to go to send. It doesn't send right away to anybody. I didn't tell it who to send it to. But under send is where I can send this perhaps survey to parents or survey to students, or maybe even, I don't know, use your imagination. I'm not going to spend too much time on that part, but I can send it via email. I can find a link to it. This is going to be used by you guys sometimes. There's a link. If the link feels too long, I can shorten it. It gives me a shortened version. Again, Control-C to copy. It even tells you right there. It's highlighted. Control-C will copy it. And I can paste it into an email, or paste it onto my school wires page, or paste it into an Aries communications. And this right here, it means embed. Very few people will use the embed code. So I'm going to skip past that for right now. So that is how you can send it, not including the Google Classroom. Finally, again, always check these things up here, no matter what app you're in. If I tap on the ellipses, few other things we can do. And this is going to come in handy. Make a copy. if you are going to be providing the same quiz to different classes, or you like the same quiz every Friday, but you want to change it a little bit, go and just make a copy, rename it, and use that. It's way, way fast. Move to trash just means to delete it. I don't know what this is, but I think it's something I learned about 2 years ago and have never used, so we're not going to address that. Printing your Google Forms, it uses a lot of paper. It's not terribly pretty. I don't recommend it, but I do know the joy of holding something in my hand that I created virtually. So sometimes I will do this for my own purposes. If I got something long and I can't wrap my brain around it, for your own purposes, yeah, you could print. Add collaborators is a way of sharing, but you're sharing the same quiz. So again, the easiest and best way to use a Google form that somebody else has made in a Google Classroom is to do the reuse button, be a co-teacher and use the reuse button. But if you're making a survey and you want to share it with somebody, you can add a collaborator and then they can make a copy for their own drive. So if if a parent survey, for example, was something that everybody in my grade level wants to use, I could add them all as collaborators and they can make a copy for their own drive. And we're going to stop right there. I think there's nothing under preferences, but let me double check. Oh, preferences are if you are constantly doing the same kind of Google form over and over again, it allows you to choose some favorite things. But the reason we're on this call, most people are interested in using this with Google Classroom. So let's look and see what that does for us, shall we? Let me see if I can go back to our shared classroom. Actually, I'd rather not use that one. Let's go to, okay, I'm going to build it in here because I don't want to clutter our Google Classroom. So to build one, this would be the best interactive training if we could have all of you with a second device right next to you and we walk through and answer questions. So I'm going to have to just remember to address the questions I typically get during a Google Forms training. I'm in a Google Classroom. I'm on my classwork page. I've got my create button right there. And we're looking at a quiz assignment. Remember, question is just a single question. CAMI assignment we talked about at length yesterday. Quiz assignment is how we're going to use the Google Forms application to make a quiz for our kids. Now, because it's going to be considered a quiz assignment, most of the default settings that we need it to have in order for it to be a quiz are already built into it, but we're going to check them anyway. So follow along here. I think I'm going to make a, let's see here. I had a terrific idea earlier for a quiz to make, and I guess we'll just go ahead and do, it's a quiz about 4th grade math, which I know a lot about. No, let's not do that. Let's do a geometry quiz. Geometry quiz. Instructions here are actually not terribly necessary except to have the kids click on the quiz itself. I may choose to add things here, but you can actually add a bunch of stuff into your quiz, which I will show you how to do. It's the coolest. So I really don't recommend adding anything out here unless you want them to watch it before even addressing the quiz. This is what I'm going to tap on in just a minute. And remember how I told you locked mode on Chromebooks is going to be an option when you see it, and it's going to be tempting. Do not tap this. And grade importing is by default on, which means that the grades from this will eventually be imported into your Google Gradebook. And then you can, if you want to, pull them into your Aries Gradebook. So we want to keep that on. We're going to tap on that in a minute. Over here is just the usual stuff. There's nothing unique about it except you'll want to adjust the points to agree with the quiz itself. So if this was the quiz that you guys took earlier, it was worth 6 points, and I changed this to 6 points. Obviously, due date and topic, these are the same as they are with any assignment that we've already spoken about. And one more thing before I tap on this, if I have a quiz that I've built already, and I built it outside of Google Classroom, in Google Forms that I accessed in any number of ways, and we'll readdress that if we need to at the end. I can actually click this X and then add that quiz. In fact, let me go ahead and demo that. If I don't want to make a new one, I want to use one I've already built in my Google Drive, I can do that. Let's see, there's California symbols, but I think I made a copy of, let's see. Here's one, find a time. And that's the one I want, no, that assessment. That's the one I want to use. Why is it allowing me to add to? There we go. And you see how it just added it for me? It kept grade importing. It kept that option that I'm not going to use. And there's the assessment that I built in another area that I can simply use as my quiz. But we're going to make one from scratch. Again, quiz assignment. It's going to be, hello, 4th grade geometry, or maybe I'm wrong, maybe it'll be 3rd grade geometry. I tap on blank quiz, it's going to take me exactly into a place that looks just like Google Forms, because it is. It is Google Forms. But the settings up here are set for quiz. Automatically knows it's a quiz. These are the default settings. If you really don't want them to see the answers after they've turned it, and you may change that now or at any point during the building of this. If you don't want them seeing the correct answers, or if you don't want them seeing the points, you may change that. Shuffle them, you may change that. But by default, Google Classroom has already chosen the things that are most commonly used with a quiz. Okay, I'm going to come up here. I have to name it in the upper left-hand corner. I need to name it just like any file. Call it geometry, and then I'm going to come down here and tap right here. And sometimes it takes it, and sometimes it doesn't. I got to tell you, it was doing really well, so I was kind of surprised it didn't take that title. All right, so my file is called geometry. My quiz is called geometry. This is like a subheading. You can put your directions there, anything you want. It comes with one question space, and if I tap in there, what resembles a sphere? Notice it says it's a multiple choice question. That was sitting there before I typed, but there are some questions I will type. If you keep an eye on this, AI will change what kind of question it thinks you want. Okay, that's a handy little tool. Prevents a lot of mistakes. In this particular one, I'm going to, let's see, a football, tennis ball, a hot dog. All right, very good. I can provide other if I want them typing in their own answer, but I have a correct answer there. It's multiple choice, and I'm ready, right? But not really. I have an answer key. Always have to add an answer key. I typically forget to put points in, so I'm going to do that first. There's the right answer, but I'm still not done because there's something else I can tap on right here. Add answer feedback. Now, with incorrect answers, they all get the same feedback. So even though football and hot dog are two different things, they are incorrect. I can type in, nice try. I can also instead give them a link to a web page or a document I have with a link that will review what is a sphere. So that's pretty cool. Or I can provide them with a URL to a YouTube video about what is a sphere or what is a hot dog. I'm going to go ahead and close that because I'm not going to link anything to these now, but you definitely see that I could have. For my correct answers, or I could provide them with a link to something else, another activity or reference or a YouTube. Even if it's a 5-second celebration YouTube, I could do that. So now I'm going to save. And I feel like I've done everything. There's my question. There's my answer. It's been chosen. It's green. It's worth 1 point. There's my feedback. There's my feedback. I am done. And I can either copy that question. In fact, I'm going to. I can trash it. No, I like it. I need to make it required. Kind of surprised that's not a default. And in the ellipses, again, never move on without checking everything you possibly can. Go to section based on answer. If they got a right answer and I don't need them to answer a bunch of other questions about spheres, I could have them move on to a different section. But I can do that right now. And I can shuffle the options so that if kids are saying, it's the first one, it's the second one, then perhaps this would prevent some version of cheating. We'll do a new section in just a second. What resembles a sphere? Sorry, I'm going to tap on that. Same question. I'm just going to change the question slightly. I'm going to say tissue box. Don't argue with me that it could be a different one. We don't want to spend a bunch of time with Kim having to think about it. What if I want to put photos in here? Let's clarify tissue box, because some tissue boxes are cubes, but some are rectangular prisms. So let's do that. You notice as I'm flipping past these, I get this little image icon over on the side. So let's go ahead and tap on that. And I'm just going to do a Google image search. When I search for images in a Google image search, it's going to give me ones that are okay for me to use. And what do I mean by that? I mean that Creative Commons has approved them. They're legal to use. They're not going, there's not some kid's face in there that's not okay to publish. It's not going to any laws about what's the word I'm looking for? Copyright. Thank you. Okay. I know that my right answer needs to be chosen. I'm going to search for a tennis ball. Now you can't really, at least last time I looked, you couldn't adjust the size of the image, and that is too bad. They're going to be a little bit large. And a tissue box. Now this is the one in which I want to make sure I've got, oops, sorry, got a tissue box that is a cube. So let's see what it comes up with. Oh, good, perfect. I like that one right there. All right, fantastic. So I've got images that go with my words. We'll preview this in a few minutes to see what it looks like. Let's go to answer key. It's not that one, it is this one. Feedback, great job, nice try. I don't have any problem with those. I'm done. Scrolling down, it is required, not trash, not copy. I'm ready for my third question, but I want to start a new section. Remember we talked about starting a new page or section so that kids aren't intimidated by too many questions. To do that, right here, the little last icon will provide me with a new section. And this one's going to be about, not three-dimensional, but plane shapes. And again, I can give it a description or not, but if I don't want to add any sub-description, I just add a new question by tapping on the plus sign. Add question. Now, before I add that question, let's go ahead and go back to that, that little menu on the right side. Add a question, great. I love when I float over something and it tells me what it is. Import questions is something you may use in the future when you've already created a whole bunch of forms and you can import from a curated list of questions. That is going to be our 301 class someday. This is if I need to add a title or description. This is fine here, but it will actually allow me to do that in the middle of a page. This allows me to just throw in an image between here and here if I want to, just an image with no question attached to it. So I can go in here and Google image search, and I'm just going to put, see if I can get some plain shapes up here like that or that. Let's go ahead and include an image. I can give it a title or not. It doesn't matter. I don't need to duplicate it, trash it, or do anything else there. Before I move on with this image, the final thing we haven't talked about is I could have added a video here. So if there's a short video, even made by me or made by anybody that you fancy in YouTube that can explain plane shapes or whatever concept you're teaching, you can put the URL in here and students would be able to then watch that video in the middle of their test. And then you can have follow-up questions such as, what did the speaker imply when he said yada, yada, yada. So tons of potential in a really simple program. You can see how I could be here all day showing you a bunch of stuff. Let's just go ahead and ask one question based on what we see up here. What about name the blue shapes? And look, Google Forms automatically knows it's going to be short answer. It's not multiple choice. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, chat room, tell me what a 7-sided shape is. I know what this one is. I'm going to work on the answer key right there. Answer key, name the blue shapes. Add a correct answer. Triangle. And can you hear anything, Robert? Are we hearing an answer? All right. I don't know what a 7-sided shape is, so we're going to call it a shmengi, guys. Shmengi. But what if kids capitalize it? What if they can't spell shmengi? Maybe I should put another answer in. Just like our grizzly bear, there may be 3 or 4 different ways to do it. The triangle and shmengi. What if they want to use the ampersand or a comma? We could be here all day thinking about what the kids might or might not do. So this is why I'm not a huge fan of putting in this. It might reduce the amount of time you need to correct your free response, and it might, but it might not be something you'll want to trust entirely 100%. All right, mark all other answers incorrect. That alerts me to the fact that they're incorrect. If I don't do that, I may not notice that somebody's getting no points for, that somebody's still not going to get points for it. So I'm going to say mark all others as incorrect. It's occurred to me that I might not have added points up there, but so I'm going to give it a quick review before we're done. Add answer feedback. I will check all answers in 24 hours. I can, again, a link, a video, whatever is needed. This is worth 2 points. I don't need to edit it, don't need to trash it. I am done. This is required. And now I'm going to review my test. I'm just going to eyeball it because here I have correct answers. I have a good question. I need a period there. It's a short answer. I'm not going to put an image there. There's my image required. Let's scroll back up. Did I put points on this one? Let's find out. 1 point, yes. And did I put points on this one? 1 point, yes. Got my answer. All right, I feel pretty good about this. Let's scroll up and preview it real quick so you can see how large or small the shapes are. What resembles a sphere? Be able to choose one. I'm going to go ahead and do this. What resembles a cube? I can see it right now. I like that. There's my next, so I can go to the next page. Plain shapes. That's the name of this page. Name the blue shapes. My answers are shmengi and triangle, right? And then submit. Your response has been recorded. View score. I got that one right, and I got a great job. What resembles a cube? I got that one right. I did a great job. What? 0 out of 2, but I know that's a shmengi and a triangle. I did not get my points. I put shmengi and triangle, but it says here triangle and shmengi. But look, I will check all answers in 24 hours. Okay, fine. Kick that around, guys. You decide what you're going to do with it. I am going to now double check my settings as I recommended you did. I could change colors. I don't need to do that, but let's go in here. I'm making this inside Google Classroom, so I don't need to worry about this. I don't need to worry about this. I actually don't need to worry about that, but I'm going to tap it anyway. They can't edit after I submit it. They can't see that. Maybe I want to shuffle. No, I don't want to do that because I've got my section there. I don't want to shuffle that. Confirmation message. You will receive your final score by Tuesday. Do that. And one last thing. Am I cool with these? I told them they're going to get their score later. I'm going to go ahead and leave that there. This question is correct answers yes. Okay. I'm 100% cool on this. Here's the big question. How are they going to get it? Well, we know we don't have to send it. It's going to be in Google Classroom. I'm going to go to the top of my screen and I'm just close this tab. I don't need, there's nothing to go backwards. I can't go backwards here. So close this tab. And here I am. It's still calling it blank quiz, but if I refresh my screen, this is still my quiz assignment screen. If I refresh my screen, it'll come up with the named 4th grade geometry quiz. That was the one I wanted to dump. 4th grade geometry. Nice and gray at the top. I hadn't actually finished a couple things. Edit that. Okay, 4th grade geometry. There's geometry. There's that. He said it was, how many points, guys? I've already forgotten. I think it was 1, 2, 3, 4. I could be wrong. Don't correct me. I'm going to put it under math. It is due all students. Grade reporting is important. And I can, of course, as with any other assignment, schedule for it to show up at a certain time, save it as a draft because I'm not sure when I want to assign it, or just assign it now. I have to click it twice, just like your kids have to hit turn in twice. We're going to hit assign twice. All righty. So that was building a quiz with lots and lots of possibilities, throwing in pictures. You can actually upload your own photos if you want to, or your own pictures that you prefer, which means that if you are a high school teacher teaching about a coordinate grid, or trig teacher talking about sine and cosine and all that, you could actually put an image in there and have the students respond to an image. You can, of course, like I said, you could upload videos as part of the learning experience. You could actually teach a short lesson and then give them a couple of review questions right there within Google Forms. I showed that I have about 1 minute left before I wanted to start open up to questions, but all right, well, I'll tell you what, time slipped by pretty quickly. I covered everything I wanted to cover, but it is a lot. I recommend that you always make your assignments through Google Classroom, but if you don't, it's not the end of the world. It's just a couple of extra clicks. Remember, I showed you that you can create quiz assignment, get rid of this one, and bring one in that you've already made. Just be really careful. And remember that you can reuse one that a teacher has made, but when you reuse a post and it is a quiz assignment like this, make sure you've got this checked, because we don't want it to be, you don't want to cross 2 classes. All righty. Here, stop presenting. Look at those people. Hello. I'm not sharing anymore. And that was my timer. That's my timer. So I'm going to ask if you guys don't mind, you can take yourselves off of mute. I know there's been a whole bunch of questions in the chat room, and Robert's been keeping up as best he can. But if you want to take yourself off mute, we can spend the next 5 minutes or so on questions. Just make sure when you unmute yourself and then ask your question, then mute yourself again.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Kim, I have a question. Other than multiple choice, can you show the other options that are available in Google Quiz and Google Forms?
Oh, where else to access besides Google Classroom? Where else do you access Google Forms? Is that the question?
No. Other than multiple choice, there's other options.
I think I'm cutting out a little bit at the beginning. Other than, and then I missed that next set of words.
Other than multiple choice,
oh yeah,
there's check boxes, and
I'm going to share my screen again. You're 100% right. I did go right past that. Let me go here, here, here. Boom, boom, boom. I'm just going to do this really quick since we're in there. All right. Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Mary. So multiple choice right here is what is kind of automatically by default the one it shows. It'll choose check boxes, or you may choose check boxes when more than one answer can be selected, whether it's a survey or a quiz. Drop down is just like check boxes, only it uses less real estate on the screen. So those we understand, and those can pretty easily have the answer feedback and answer keys. Short answer is, again, I said like, what was it, like 200 characters, and paragraph is basically unlimited. File upload can be confusing to somebody who hasn't used it before, but it just allows your students to upload a file as a response. So this is not for you to file and upload a file. This is for your students to be able to upload that image they took on their computer, or to upload a document that they created for you. These are a 201 class, but they allow, let's see if I can do this really quick. On a scale of 1 to 5, and then they give you their response. So that's not as complicated as these get a little bit more complicated. So I'm not going to address these in our final couple minutes. You're welcome to play with them as much as you want, of course, but this one you could use. And then these two allow the student to answer with a chosen date or time. So that's their, what kind of answer we want from them. Does that make sense? Great. Okay. Let's stop presenting. What else?
Kim, on your spreadsheet, once you have all of the answers, let's say you want to organize your spreadsheet so that you have them alpha order, or let's say you want to organize the answers so that you can see at a quick glance everybody that answered the same way.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you sort by one column, does that it'll automatically include the name? And in other words, let's say Johnny. You understand my question?
I totally understand your question. Absolutely. And that is more of a Google Sheets question. And it's not that I don't want to answer, but I feel like I can probably write out directions and even video a better way to answer than I can right here in about 30 seconds. But your main answer is yes, absolutely. Once something is on a spreadsheet, you can organize the data in any way you want. All you have to do is choose a column that you want to be your master column, slide it over, highlight everything, and then sort by.
So it works just like Excel, then. Just like Excel.
In fact, in many ways, I don't want my Microsoft friends to hear this, but it's a little easier in Sheets than it is in Excel, but the same possibilities exist. So I will make sure, this is Jane's question, but everyone will get the answer to that. I'll make sure to provide something for that. Okay, I'm sorry, it's 2 o'clock, and I just want to really respect our time parameters, because we're going to be doing these for weeks and weeks, and I don't want people saying, oh, I don't know, she goes on and on, you know, it was 2:45 and she was still answering questions. So with that in mind, Robert is going to close out the chat. He can't answer anymore, but if you have questions that didn't get answered, do not hesitate to just put them in the stream. I think we got to everybody's from yesterday. I know we got to everyone's from Tuesday. If you have ideas for next week's topics, please put them in the form that is linked in our shared classroom. And I want to tell you that next week we won't have Robert, so I'm terrified right now. So we will have to stop and answer questions from the chat as much as we can during the meet next week. So the meets next week. Let's see. I don't know if there's anything else I needed to say, except have a wonderful weekend. Super excited to see everybody here. And yeah, I got it. That's it. I got it. That's anticlimactic, but love you guys. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. I'm now stopping my recording. Stop recording.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's good to see you guys.